image transformations. Image transformations. So what about image transformations? Transform objects. So what about transform objects? Scale layers proportionally. And when transforming any layer type, by the way, dragging a corner handle now scales and layer proportionally, by default indicated by the maintain aspect ratio button and link icon, and in the on state in the options bar. To change the default transform behavior to non-proportional scaling, simply turn off the maintain aspect ratio and link icon button, and the shift key while pressed now acts as a toggle for the maintain aspect ratio button. And if the maintain aspect ratio button is on, the shift key, by the way, toggles it off while pressed, and vice versa. And Photoshop remembers your last transform behavior setting proportional or non-proportional scaling, and it will be your default transform behavior when you restart Photoshop the next time. And use the maintain aspect ratio button. The screenshot appear for you now. Explain how to use the maintain aspect ratio button and link icon in the options bar to choose the default scaling behavior. And for detailed instructions, you have to see scale and rotate and skew and distort and apply perspective or wrap. And how do you switch? How do you switch back to the legacy transform behavior? How do you switch back to the legacy transform behavior? From the menu bar, you have to choose Edit if you use Windows, and you have to choose Photoshop if you use macOS, then Preferences, then General, then select Legacy Free Transform. And how to apply transformations in Photoshop. How to apply transformations. Transforming scales and rotates and skew and stretches or wraps an image. You can apply transformations, by the way, to a selection, an entire layer, and multiple layers, or a layer mask. And you can also apply transformations to a path and a vector shape and a vector mask and a selection border or an alpha channel. And transforming effects, image quality when you manipulate the pixels. And to apply non-destructive transformations to raster images, you can't use smart objects, and you have to see work with smart objects again. And transforming a vector shape or path is always actually non-destructive, because you are only changing the mathematical calculations producing the object. And to make a transformation, first select an item to transform and then choose a transformation command if necessary, and adjust the reference point before manipulating the transformation. And you can also perform several manipulations in succession before applying the cumulative transformation. For example, you can choose scale and drag a handle to scale, and then choose distort and drag a handle to distort, and then press enter or return to apply both transformations. And Photoshop uses the interpolation method selected in the general area of the preferences dialog box to calculate the color values of pixels that are added, by the way, or deleted during transformations. This interpolation, by the way, setting directly affects the speed and quality of the transformation and bicubic interpolation. And the default is slowest, but yields the best results. And be careful in this point. You can also wrap and distort raster images using the liquify filter, like this screenshot now. We have in this image now A and P and C and D. Transforming an image. A is meaning the original image here now. A is meaning original image, and B is meaning layer flipped, and C is meaning selection, border rotated, and D is meaning part of object scaled. So what about transform submenu command? Transform submenu command, we have many options. First option, scale. Scale is meaning enlarges or reduces an item relative to its reference point, and is a fixed point around which transformations are performed. You can scale horizontally and vertically, or both horizontally and vertically. And what's the meaning of rotate? Rotate is meaning turns an item around a reference point. By default, this point is center of the object. However, you can move it to another location. So what about skew? Skew is meaning slants an item vertically and horizontally. And so what's the meaning of distort? Distort is meaning stretches an item in all directions. And what's the meaning of perspective? Perspective is meaning that applies one point perspective to an item. And what's the meaning of wrap? Wrap is meaning manipulates the shape of an item. And what's the meaning of rotate 180 and rotate 90 and rotate 90 ccw? Rotates the item by the specified number of degrees, either clockwise or counterclockwise. So what about flip? Flip is meaning flips the item vertically or horizontally. And tips for working with vectors in Photoshop. You have to select an item to transform, and also should to do the following. To transform an entire layer, you have to make the layer active and make sure nothing is selected. And be careful. You can transform, by the way. You can transform the background layer. To transform it, first convert it to a regular layer. And to transform a part of a layer, you should select a layer in the layers panel. And after that, then select part of the image on that layer. And next, to transform multiple layers, do either of the following in the layers panel. Link the layer together, or select multiple layers by Control click if you use Windows, or Command click if you use macOS. And more than one layer in the layers panel, you can also Shift click to select continue layers. And after that, to transform a layer mask or a vector mask, unlink the mask and select the mask thumbnail in the layers panel. And after that, transform a path or vector shape. You have to use the path selection tool and to select the entire path or the direct selection to the point or transform it. Tool to select part of the path. If you select one or more points on a path, only those path segments connected to the point are transformed. And after that, to transform a selection border, make or load a selection, then choose select, then choose transform selection. And after that, to transform an alpha channel, you should to select the channel in the channels panel. How to set or move the reference point for a transformation. How to set or move the reference point for a transformation. By the way, all transformations are performed around a fixed point called the reference point. By default, this point is at the center of the sum of the item are transforming. However, you can change the reference point or move the center point to a different location using the references point locator in the options bar. And you have steps. Step number 1. You should choose a transformation command and a bounding box appears in the image. Step number 2. The reference point is hidden by default to show the reference point, and then click select the checkbox next to the reference point locator in the options bar, like this image now. This image now screenshot is appear for you, and they explain show reference point checkbox in the options bar. Step number 3. Do one of the following. In the options bar, click a square on the reference point locator, and each square represents a point on the bounding box. For example, to move the reference point to the upper left corner of the bounding box, click the top left square on the reference point locator, and in the transform bounding box that appears in the image, drag the reference point, and the reference point actually can be outside the item you want to transform. And how to scale or rotate or skew and distort and apply perspective or wrap. By the way, you can apply various transform operations such as scale and rotate and skew and distort and perspective or wrap to the selected image. And you have steps. Step number 1. You should select what you want to transform. Firstly, you should select what you want to transform. And next, number 2, choose edit, then choose transform, then choose scale and rotate and skew and distort and perspective or wrap. And do not be careful. If you are transforming a shape or entire path, the transform menu becomes the transform path menu, by the way. And if you are transforming multiple paths, segments but not the entire path, the transform menu becomes the transform points menu. Step number 3. Optional. In this option bar, click a square on the reference point locator. Number 4. Do one or more of the following. If you choose a scale drag handle on the bounding box when positioned over a handle, the pointer becomes a double arrow. And if the maintain aspect ratio button link icon is on in the options bar, drag corner handle to scale the layer proportionally. And if the maintain aspect ratio button link icon is off in the options bar, you should drag a corner handle scales the layer non-proportionally. And hold down the shift key while transforming to toggle between proportional and non-proportional scaling behavior. And if you choose rotate, move the pointer outside the bounding border, it becomes a curved two-sided arrow, and then drag and press shift to constrain the rotation to 15-degree increments. And if you choose skew, drag side handle to slant the bounding box. And if you choose distort, you should drag a corner handle to stretch the bounding box. And if you choose perspective, you should drag a corner handle to apply perspective to the bounding box. And if you choose wrap, you should choose a wrap from the wrap style pop-up menu in the options bar, and or to perform a custom wrap and drag the control points and align or an area within the mesh to change the shape of the bounding box and mesh. By the way, for all types of transformations, enter a value in the options bar. For example, to rotate an item, specify degrees in the rotation text box. Step number 5. Optional. If desired, switch to a different type of transformation by selecting a command from the Edit and Transform submenu. Note again, and be careful, when you transform a bitmap image versus a shape or base, the image becomes slightly less sharp each time you commit a transformation, by the way, and is therefore performing multiple commands before applying the cumulative transformation is preferable to applying each transformation separately. Step number 6. Optional again. If you want to wrap the image, click the switch between free transform and wrap mode button to the option bar in the option bar. Step number 7. When you finish, do one of the following. To commit the transformation, you should select a new tool. After that, click a layer in the layer panel, and this action, by the way, auto commits changes, and also select the layer. And you should click outside the canvas area in the document window. And after that, you should click outside the bounding box in the canvas area, and then press enter if you use Windows, or return if you use macOS. Then click the commit button in the options bar, or double click inside the transformation menu. And to cancel the transformation, press escape or click the cancel button in the options bar. So what about flip or rotate precisely? Flip or rotate precisely is meaning that we have steps. Number 1, you should select what you want to transform firstly. Number 2, choose edit and transform and choose one of the following commands from the submenu. You should choose rotate to specify degrees in the options bar, and after that rotate 180 to rotate by a half turn, and after that rotate 90 CW to rotate clockwise by a quarter turn. After that rotate 90 CCW to rotate counterclockwise by a quarter turn, and after that flip horizontal to flip horizontally along the vertical axis, and after that flip vertical to flip vertically along the horizontal axis. And note here again, if you are transforming a shape or entire path, the transform command becomes the transform path command, by the way. And if you are transforming multiple paths, segments but not the entire path, the transform command becomes the transform points command, by the way. How to repeat a transformation? If you would like to repeat a transformation, what should you do? You should choose edit, then you choose transform, then you choose again edit, then you choose transform path, and again or edit and transform points, and again. And how to duplicate an item when transforming it? Hold down if you use Windows, hold down Alt if you use Windows, or Option if you use macOS, and when selecting the transform command. And so what about adjust and crop and rotation and canvas size? By the way, this document outlines the different methods you can use to adjust your image cropping and rotation and canvas size. And what about cropping and straightening?